We are trying to answer the scientific question, how does water affect plant growth? We came up with the hypothesis that if grass is watered, then plant growth will increase. The independent variable of our experiment is water, and the dependent variable is growth. Now it's time to set up an experiment. A controlled scientific experiment needs two groups of subjects: an experimental group that will receive the independent variable, and a control group that will not receive the independent variable. In our example, our experimental group will be grass that receives water. Our control group will be grass that does not receive water. The purpose of the control group is for comparison. How can we claim that water increases plant growth if we have nothing to compare it to? Let's look at some more examples. Does the pill help patients lose weight? We can test this out by setting up two groups. One group will take the weight loss pill, and the other group will not. After a certain amount of time, we will weigh the patients in each group, and we'll see if the experimental group lost more weight. Does studying help to improve test scores? We can test this out by setting up two groups. The experimental group will study, and the control group will not study. We will compare the test scores between the two groups to see if the experimental group performed better. Does carbon dioxide affect air temperature? We can test this out by setting up two groups, two samples of air. The experimental group will receive carbon dioxide, and the control group will not. We can then compare the temperature between the two groups. The only difference in the treatment of the control group is that it does not receive the experimental variable. All other variables between the two groups must be kept consistent. What are some variables that should be kept constant between our two groups? Pause the video and come up with a list. Both groups should have the same species of grass, and they should start at the same height. They should both be grown in the same type of soil and receive the same amount of sunlight. Both groups should be kept in the same temperature, and they should be able to grow for the same amount of time. The only difference between the two groups is that our experimental group receives water and our control group does not. Now it's time to collect some data. It is time to measure the dependent variable, plant growth. Do the results support or reject our claim? The results support our hypothesis. The plants that were watered grew more than the plants that were not. Science is a growing collection of knowledge that builds on previous ideas. Although we can never truly prove a claim, we can repeat experiments to build stronger evidence to support our claims.